The Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, presented by Bright Angel Outfitters, is back. And this time with a special guest who you might think is kind of crazy, in a good way.
I'm seeing things. It's like rocks are looking like animals.
This is the story of a man who at 62 did a quadruple crossing of the Grand Canyon, a rim-to-rim times 4.
I couldn't eat or drink, and my feet were killing me.
And in a few months, he'll do it again.
That was a freaking war.
Arnie Fonseca is our guest, Coach Arnie, with plenty for all of us to learn about hiking the canyon, no matter how far we're going.
Constantly trying to prepare my body for chaos, because the canyon is chaos.
Now, our conversation on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, presented by Bright Angel Outfitters. You know, most people hike the canyon, they aim for a rim to rim, or maybe a rim to rim to rim. But Arnie here, in 2021, at the age of 62, decided that wasn't enough. No, he was going to hike, and bear with me here, rim to rim to rim to rim to rim. That's an R5. That's a quadruple crossing of the Grand Canyon that Arnie did at 62 years old. I think only something like, 20 people in history are known to have accomplished that. The biggest question I think that all of us are wondering about that, Arnie, why?
Well, you know, I'd have to go back to my mentor in the canyon, a friend, someone you just met over the phone, Mr. Benedict Duggar. He's kind of responsible for all of us crazy people. But, you know, years ago, Brian, when I first was looking into the whole Grand Canyon thing, I ran into this guy, and then we got to be good friends. And I was already doing, you know, the Grand Canyon, which is about 45 to 50 miles, well, roughly in that zone there. And then
if you go rim to rim to rim.
Yeah, rim to rim to rim. And then I had done a few ultras, 50Ks, and nothing more than 50 miles, because that was the Grand Canyon. And then one day he challenged me to do 100-mile. I thought he was completely lunatic. I really did. I was sitting right here in my little office here, and I thought, there's no way, because he was sitting where I'm sitting. And I go, there's no way I'm going to do that. That's dumb. That's exactly what I said. I said, that's dumb. And, well, 200-milers later, I was talking to one of my other coaches, and he goes, you know, Arnie, you don't have to do that again. And I said, I know. And in my mind, Brian, I'll be honest with you, in my mind at that point, and that was probably 2017, I said, well, the next 100-miler I'm going to do is in the Grand Canyon. And then I had some other passions. I was working on it at other mountains. And so when I came back to the canyon in 2018, I told Benedict, I said, I want to do, because I had been helping him to do an R5, his second one. I helped him to train for that. And so I said, I want to do that. And he goes, let's talk about it. So the first step to that was a rim to river, and then a rim to rim to rim.
Now, the training hike that Arnie just described, rim to river, followed immediately by a rim to rim to rim. I mean, that is a massive undertaking, covering some 60 miles with more than 30,000 feet of elevation change. But that's exactly what he did.
And so when I finished, it was weird, because I didn't feel that bad. So I knew now that I kind of had my hands kind of around this thing, this is something I want. So for 2020, that was my goal, R5. In 2020, you know, I got COVID in July, and just things, I couldn't get my rhythm. I went in June. I went when it first opened in June of 2020, and felt pretty good, did an R3. Then I didn't do another one until, I think I did another one at the end in October, but I wasn't ready. Mentally, I wasn't ready for an R5. Just wasn't ready.
Every time I would do a rim to rim, I recently did a rim to rim to rim, and every time I would finish a rim to rim with the idea in the back of my head that, hey, maybe someday I can do rim to rim to rim, I would think to myself when I got to the top after a rim to rim, could I turn around and go back and do this all over again? And for a long time, the answer was, heck No. So what made you finally realize that when you would finish a rim to rim to rim, that you would look back over your shoulder and go, yeah, I could do another double crossing right now. Let's just drop back in and do this. What was the moment when you were finally like, I'm ready?
Another one of my mentors along my ultra running, hiking, adventure running journeys here the last, 10 years is a guy named Phil Maffetone. One of the things that he taught me, amongst other people, is that whatever you do in training, you should be able to double or even triple, depending on whatever effort it is. I was convinced by listening to experts that I trusted that if I trained correctly and I was healthy, I wasn't going into it sick or recovering, that I could physically double whatever I did in training. So in my mind, I nowhere thought I would need to do anything more than an R3 to prepare for an R5.
Well, finally, the big day did arrive in the fall of 2021 when Arnie set out from the South Kaibab trailhead for a hike that would cover right at 88 miles with 44,000 feet of elevation change. That's more than 4 vertical miles, both down and up. He'd be going from South Kaibab to North Kaibab, then back to South Kaibab, then back to North Kaibab, and then finally back to South Kaibab. His goal? 44 hours, almost 2 full days straight. Maybe he'd sleep on the trail, but maybe he wouldn't. He started at 9 o'clock on a Friday morning in October.
First one was a blur, because Benedict and I had talked about just doing a walk in the park. That was my mindset. I'm just doing a walk in the park. So the first one, I pulled back, and I did it like 22 hours, and it's like, oh, this, and then, so I was kind of a blur. I don't even remember the first one. So I started at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I spent the night in Williams, drove up, started at 9, everything, just took my time, and I finished in the dark. And I wanted to do it without any assistance at all. I didn't want any help from anybody. Nothing. Okay, totally unassisted. So, one down, let's go. It wasn't even a thought, Brian, that I was turning and going. The plan was to get 2 to 3 hours of sleep. So if I got back to my car around 5, get a couple, 3 hours of sleep, get dressed, and go. And so I'm laying there, and I said, screw this. So I just kind of got up and started to take my time to get ready. I fully changed all my clothes. Everything was fresh. That was Benedict. We had worked through all this stuff. Make sure you had fresh clothes, everything.
So at 9 a.m. Saturday, 24 hours after Arnie had started his first rim to rim to rim, he dropped in for attempt number 2. 8 miles later, he was in the box, and things were about to get a little bit weird. Now, for those that don't know, the box is a 4.5-mile stretch just after Phantom Ranch where the canyon just closes right in on you with the walls on each side often not more than 100 feet apart.
I'm going through the box, and I'm seeing things. So you got to remember now, I've been up since 5 o'clock in the morning on Friday, and now it's Saturday at 11 a.m. noonish. So what's that? A long time. And so I'm going through the box around noon, and I'm seeing things. It's like rocks are looking like animals. This is the one area I didn't do my homework. The whole sleep deprivation, hallucination stuff.
Tough to prepare for that.
I just thought I would just do what I always do, Brian. Just manage the situation. So I'm cruising along, and then the one thing that I thought I had planned for, because I had switched my shoes prior to this, and every R3 I did, I had it with a new pair of topos I had. I was getting blisters in the same exact spot on my heel. So I wore them again, and I already had my old topos in the trunk ready to go. That never gave me blisters. They were ready to go. Came out of the R3, the first one, my feet felt fine. I go, I'm good. And when I got to Manzanita, the second go round, my feet, I was starting to feel a little rough spot on my feet. I was like, oh God. And then I'm going up. I wanted to get to, my goal was to get to the North Rim with daylight. And I missed it by probably an hour. So I got there about 7 o'clock at night. I got there at 7 o'clock at night. I was feeling pretty good, except now, so now you're looking at what? I've been up since Friday morning, Saturday morning, so that's 24 hours. So 36 hours, 37 hours.
65 miles roughly on your legs at that point.
And
with the massive declines and inclines.
Yeah.
Yep.
But now, Brian, I couldn't eat or drink.
Mm-hmm.
And my feet were killing me. They weren't on the way up. So on the way down, all of a sudden, my feet were killing me.
So with aching feet and severe sleep deprivation, Arnie drops back in on North Kaibab, now 3/4 of the way through his quadruple crossing. His next goal, the Manzanita Rest Area, 5.4 miles and 3,600 vertical feet below the North Rim.
I said, when I get to Manzanita, I'll just take my time, I'll change my socks, I'll deal with whatever's going on here. But I wasn't eating or drinking because my gut, it was weird. It was a weird gut thing. It wasn't like I wasn't like losing my gut. I just didn't feel like eating.
Man, I've had that happen to me, Arnie, on long hikes, not as long as this, but where you should be eating, you should be drinking, but for some reason it sounds like the worst thing.
Terrible.
Like you just don't want to drink anything. You don't want anything in your body. No. You just don't want anything. And that's something that is, man, that's hard to overcome, isn't it?
Well, it was scaring me because I had to get out of there.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's my body going to do without any calories or hydration.
And you got about 16 miles to go still.
Yeah. Well, now I'm at Manzanita. I'm fixing my foot. And my blister wasn't that big of a deal. It's like, okay, what's the problem here, man? But I still had 9 miles to get to Phantom Ranch of some slight downhill. And it wasn't very comfortable. But I bandaged it up as best I could. I had a good blister kit. It was ready to go, but it was still not, it just didn't feel right. Okay. And I still wasn't eating and drinking, Brian. But my legs felt like really good. It's like, this is weird. So now when I'm on my way back to Phantom, now the hallucinations are kicking in. So there were parts going through the box where, Brian, as God is my witness, I thought I was running in circles. I go, man, I just passed that spot. There were times when my flashlight was waking me up because I'm running like this, and I would hit my face with the light, and it would wake me up. But I fell asleep and went down. And I started yelling if no one was around because it was around, it would had to be after midnight. And because I had fallen behind now. Because my goal was 44 hours or less. That was my goal. So but finally when I remember doing the video when I got to Phantom Ranch because I was there about 3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like going, that was a freaking war. Whatever I said, whatever that was that's something for like some kind of sci-fi movie. Because it was like every possible story, every possible weird thing that you can imagine was happening to me on that trail. And I still wasn't eating and drinking, Brian. I was taking in some Vespa. I carried some extra Vespa with me. And so I get to Phantom Ranch. I go, okay, you got this. You can do this. You feel pretty good. I did. I felt really good. So I'm heading up. Here we go.
And at this point, just for those who don't know, you're at Phantom Ranch. You're 7.5 miles essentially from the South Kaibab Trailhead with 4,800 feet of elevation. Still left to gain. You've already, close to hitting 80 miles by this point, I would assume, right?
Yeah, it was 70, close to 80. It wasn't quite 80. So, so I head up. And that first part coming out, once you get across the river, across Black's Bridge, it's pretty steep right there. right?
Kicks you right in the teeth,
Yeah,
man.
and sandy, and you got the high legs. The things are separated out, and so I'm going up that, Brian. I'm cruising, and I'm going. Wait a minute, Arnie, are you on the right trail? This is too easy. This doesn't make any sense. This should be kicking your butt right now. And I'm going, no, it's got to be the right trail. I'm looking at my watch going, yeah, okay.
So the hallucinations are continuing.
Oh, it was, oh no, yeah. So
man.
so I told myself, Brian, I gave myself a present. I go, you get 1 mile up, and I want you to take a rest. Just sit down for a minute. And I had emptied my other bottles out of my stuff that I was carrying at Phantom Ranch, and I refilled them up and refilled it up with more. So I was keeping on my normal schedule because I wasn't going to take any more, and it was less to carry anyways. I just mixed it up in my bottles and ready to go, right? And so here I was with 2 full bottles of my fuel, and I had my water, and more than enough to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning up South Cobb, okay? Because it wasn't hot at that point. So I'd sit down at about a mile up, so it's before tip-off, and I sat there on the, and so all of a sudden I shook my head. I go, whoa, what was that? And it was like 15, 20 minutes that I'd been dozing, and I go, this is probably not a good idea since I'm on the wrong side of this thing here. Next time, brake on the other side, because I was on the exposed side.
Yeah.
So, and then I got up to tip off, and I don't remember. I think I did the same thing at tip, but every mile, Brian, I was sitting down for a couple, but my legs felt really good. And this is crazy, and this is part of the miracle here. I still wasn't eating and drinking. And
even though you knew you had to.
I knew but I would force some water down because I was forcing some water down, but it didn't taste right. It was good water. And so, but the longest nap I think I took was maybe 30 minutes at Cedar Ridge because it was Halloween. These people came up to me in costumes. It was a week before. I don't know. They came up in costumes.
Maybe we're talking a mile and a half. You're a mile and a half from the trailhead.
But they came up.
The end is in sight.
Sunrise is coming, and they offered me a piece of candy. First they asked me if I was okay. I said, yeah, I'm fine. And they offered me some candy. I said, no, I'm good. Then I made it to Uha, and I rested some more.
All right, at this point, Arnie is just under a mile from the finish, having already hiked close to 87 miles. Not long after, he'd made it. The quadruple crossing was complete. His reaction? Well, let's just say it wasn't so much celebration as it was wondering what could have been.
Okay, I can do better than that. And I didn't even eat. What could I do if I ate? What could I do? In my brain, Brian, was what could I do if everything went perfect?
So you're immediately thinking that.
Thinking that.
Because it's a sickness. I
know.
Let's face it. We have something's wrong with us. You especially.
I was already planning the next one.
My gosh, man.
I know.
I was gonna ask you because I remember the first time I did a rim to river, which, my God, that's only 16 and a half to 17 and a half miles. And I remember surfacing on Bright Angel, and I remember thinking this is one of the hardest things I've ever done. And I remember feeling that emotion, which you don't expect. You don't see it coming. I don't know if it's because it's the physical part of it, it's the mental part of it, and it's where you are. Because if you just look around, you're in one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. It is staggeringly beautiful in every direction. There's just something magical about that place. So I felt emotion after a rim to river. So did you feel any emotion whatsoever
no, I did.
when you came out of that, or was it immediately on to the next one?
No, right? I did, and I forgot. I think I talked to some people there at the top. I don't know if I even shared, because most of they don't understand that. I didn't see any runners or hikers. They weren't. So unless I saw those kind of guys there, they weren't going to understand it. Besides thinking I was just a knucklehead. I was at peace, Brian. I was at peace because I felt I could do better. I knew my first thing I thought, I'll be honest with you, Brian, the first thing I thought was, Arnie, your training was spot on. Your legs felt really good. At 62, your legs felt really strong. And the other things, I figured I would deal with later. The sleep deprivation and the whatever, all that other stuff was. I didn't know it was all related, okay, until later. And it was. So, but the training part, I thought, man, I got that. Seriously, because I wasn't dealing with any soreness. I wasn't dealing with any cramping. I wasn't dealing with anything physical. It was all mental.
Okay, so one's down. And you said right when you finished that you started thinking about the next one. You haven't done another one since.
No.
But your next mission, Arnie, might as well just share it with everyone now, is to do this all over again, another quadruple crossing of the Grand Canyon. Yep. Next October of 2024, that will be when you are 65 years old.
Yep.
And as far as you know, no one that age has ever even attempted a quadruple crossing of the canyon. So that's the next goal, huh?
That's the next goal. So everything that I'm doing right now, everything at the gym, everything that I'm doing physically, mentally, and emotionally is geared towards that.
All right, a word now from our sponsor, Bright Angel Outfitters. My first rim-to-rim-to-rim hike recently was also a field test for our new Rim to Rim pack, which is a day pack designed specifically for day hikes in the Grand Canyon. We figured if it's canyon worthy, it's worthy of any day hike anywhere on Earth. The Rim to Rim pack's features are inspired by what I personally longed for but was missing in a day pack, especially pockets on the front straps so you can store bottles, snacks, and even your phone and not have to stop to take your pack off to get to them. You see those front pockets on running vests, but not typically on full-size backpacks. We call them pack straps, and they are game changers. We also have a fully insulated pocket for a water reservoir and anything else you want to keep cool, and we purposely limited the number of compartments and pouches because I was tired of never remembering where everything was. Not only is the Rim to Rim pack simple and functional, and it's also gorgeous. We chose a sleek, water-resistant fabric that just gives the pack a super high-end look. So far, this prototype has been with me for over 100 miles in the canyon, and it still looks brand new. The Rim to Rim pack will be available soon, and we'll, of course, keep you updated here on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, presented by Bright Angel Outfitters. All right, more now with Arnie Fonseca. Coach Arnie's passions do go beyond actually hiking the canyon. As an exercise physiologist who preaches a pain-free lifestyle to folks over 50, he also believes in sharing his canyon experiences with others dreaming of hiking the canyon themselves. I met Arnie a couple of years ago on Black Mountain in Cave Creek, Arizona, about 3.5 hours from the South Rim. It turns out Arnie had just discovered Black Mountain and found that its extreme steepness makes it a perfect training ground for canyon hiking. When you get to the trailhead, Black climbs just over 1,000 feet in just 0.8 of a mile, which is far steeper than anything on the Grand Canyon's main trails. Even though Black had been my almost daily hike for years at that point, I had no idea of those benefits until Coach Arnie and I started talking about it, and also about his own training regiment.
Most of mine is done through strength exercises and that really attack the various pieces of the canyon. And the biggest one for me has always been that downhill. I'm a big fan of what's called pelvic stability. So as long as your pelvis can remain in a very neutral place while you're going downhill or uphill, you have a better chance of allowing your muscles to do what they're supposed to do. Because as soon as your pelvis tilts in either direction, you're in trouble. You're either going to get knee pain or back pain, or both, and that's not a fun place to be. But you'll hear story after story after story of people that have knee pain or they have back pain from hiking, and I've experienced all of it, but I don't experience any of it anymore. Especially, and Brian knows where we train at Black Mountain. It's a lot steeper than Canyon. And one of my goals, Brian, is at the end of the day, can I come hustling down that mountain at a pretty good clip and really challenge myself? Some jumping and landing and just putting a real whack on my hips and knees and the front of my leg, which is the anterior tibialis, guys, and your feet. And if I can finish that day and kind of just look up in the sky and say, God, that was awesome, and not be sore, that puts me on the right track, because I'm not going to be doing that at the canyon. I'm not going to attack the canyon that way. I want to be ready so that whatever the canyon throws at me, I'll be ready for physically.
Like we've said, Arnie, we've got mountains in our backyard that
Yeah.
we can train on and kind of simulate what the canyon experience is like, as close as we can at least. But a lot of people don't have that. So what are just some quick things that someone can do to train for the canyon when they don't have the luxury of having mountains in their backyard?
Okay, I'm going to give you the golden nugget here. The golden nugget is not, and I'm not saying it's bad, climbing bleachers and stair steps and all that stuff. The golden nugget is walking backwards. Walking backwards, it's an amazing thing because it works all the muscles that you're going to use, mainly going downhill. It's going to build pelvic stability. It's going to build knee strength and stability. It's going to build your ACL ligaments behind your knee, which stabilizes your knee. It's going to build hamstring strength. All those wonderful things, plus lower back strength as well, and glutes. But the neat thing about walking backwards is you can make it even harder. So you can add resistance to it, which makes it even better as an exercise. And then on top of that, if you add pushing, pushing, I have a sled, it's called the prowler. If you push, now you get to work your feet, your toes. I'm a big fan of working the feet, the big toe especially, and strengthening the feet and the glutes and the hamstrings, those pushing muscles that simulate going uphill. So those two movements don't require any fancy dancy, lunging, weight training, all that stuff that I hear people doing all the time. Been there, done that. But those two movements alone will get you in and out of the canyon with a smile on your face. But on top of that, if you sprinkle in some specialty things, like some exercise that work the lower part of your knee that I've developed, and the hamstrings are your most important muscle group, the back of your legs. And not so much for the climbing out as for the going down. Because here's the key. If I can go down using up as little energy as possible, then I've got a whole lot more energy to come out with. So the idea, and the hamstrings are your brake. They brake you. They slow you down. So if you're having to brake hard, think about your car. If you're having to brake hard on the way down, you wear out your hamstring, and guess what you're using when you're trying to run on the flatter areas? Your hamstrings. So all of a sudden you turn around and go, crap, I'm tired, because you just worn out your hamstrings.
One thing that really catches a lot of first-time canyon hikers off guard is the giant steps that make up good portions of all three main trails. These steps can range from 6 inches off the ground to more than knee-high, and can be brutal on legs and joints, especially on the way down.
Part of my job as a coach, if I'm taking somebody down or sharing somebody how to train for the canyon, I've got to make sure that they're getting ready for stepping down those big steps like that unevenly. And that's why sometimes, even though climbing stadiums and that can help, but it's what I like to do, introducing some chaos into that as well. So it's not always even. It's not always 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. It might be 1 2 1 2 2 1, and breaking it up to make it very chaotic, and then introduce. And then what I've done, Brian, is set up steps so people have to step up and down at the gym even, and do that a number of times to get ready for that bigger 18-inch drop off, so they feel that impact, so that they're aware. So when it comes, it's not like, oh geez, this is not like climbing stair steps. And it also breaks up the monotony, because sometimes training too many steps can cause some tendonitis too, because it's a pattern. So I'm always trying to introduce chaos. Like on Wednesdays, I do these what things called pogo jumps. So it's like jumping up and down like a pogo stick. And so I'll do them, and I do like a number of, like, I do them in sets of 25. And then I introduce chaos, where I'm jumping and turning circles and going side to side, and constantly trying to prepare this and my body for chaos, because the canyon is chaos. Hey, what we like about it, it's a marked trail. You've got bathrooms. You got rangers. You've got people generally here and there. It's a great wonder of the world. It's close to home, but it still has chaos down in there, and you got to be ready for that, whether it's physical or mental chaos. So part of the job that you're trying to do, which I am encouraging you to do, is to keep teaching whoever is listening to this to investigate and make a list. What do I need to be better at? Do I need to be better at going downhill? Because if what you're used to is a forest road downhill, like most places have, and you're talking about, and you can see videos, go on YouTube, you'll see videos, that I need to get better at that kind of stuff, then you need to practice that. You need to practice what's called specificity. And if you're not doing that, you're going to be surprised when you hit those steps. You're going to be surprised on that downhill. 7 miles is a long way downhill, right? It's a long way. I remember the first time I went down Kaibab, we started early in the morning, 3:34. It was like, God, is this ever going to end? Is this ever going to end? Because we didn't know. I'd never been down it before. So think about that with a new person. And you're going boom, 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 boom. Can you imagine what's going through their brain, Brian?
Now, one thing you'll notice about Coach Arnie is that he's all business, primarily dedicated to the mental and physical challenge of hiking the Grand Canyon. Arnie's a doer. It's clear he's in this to test himself and help others test themselves. So you won't hear him talk much about where any of this is taking place. I mean, we are talking about one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, after all. So when I asked him about his favorite trail, I probably shouldn't have been surprised when beauty and scenery and views didn't factor in. All right. If I told you that you had one trail to hike at the Grand Canyon for the rest of your life, just one, Arnie, which one is it?
Wow. Even though it drives me crazy, I love it. It's the North Rim.
So North Kaibab.
It drives me crazy because it always either loses or gains a mile somewhere in there. My GPS is always off. So it drives me nuts. It's like, where's Supai? Dang it. Should be right here. So, but something about that place, it's just, I love South Kaibab. But, I look forward to the North Rim. Because I know it doesn't own me. The only thing the North Rim ever does to me that messes me up is it's mental. It's all mental. But I like it. I like the challenge of it. The fact that the weather can be so dramatic on it. The winds, the cold, the snow. It's amazing. Trees. I mean, it's amazing.
I mean, that stretch of trail after Redwall Bridge, when you are essentially on the canyon wall, on the side of the canyon wall, and there's a drop off, in the 6-foot wide trail, and there's a 500-foot drop off for a long way on that section of trail. I mean, that's about as spectacular as I would assume a trail could get anywhere in the world. And that's just part of North Kaibab. You get up into the pines because it's 1,000 feet higher than the South Rim is. Man, what a place. All right, last thing.
Yeah.
See if you can wrap this up in 30 seconds here. When it comes to hiking the Grand Canyon, what is your why?
It's a physical, emotional, and spiritual challenge. Because at the point I am in my life and the things that I've done, there's no better feeling, Brian, than to be able to challenge those 3 parts of my life at the same time in the same place. And with those 3 things, it feeds me everything I need. I get God right there, I get my physical, and I get the mental challenge as well, all in one place.
Oh, and what a place it is. There is simply no other place like it anywhere in the world. That is Coach Arnie Fonseca, my buddy from Black Mountain. and a treasure trove of information about hiking the canyon and preparing to hike the canyon. Expect to hear much more from Arnie in the years ahead, especially in October of 2024 when he plans to become the only known 65-year-old to attempt a quadruple crossing of the Grand Canyon. Go get it, Arnie. Folks, if you enjoyed these episodes, we would appreciate a follow, a rating, a review on whatever platform you're listening on. You can also find more great Grand Canyon content across social media. Look for @Grand Canyon Hiker Dude on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and even TikTok. That will do it for this time. My name is Brian Special, and this show exists to inspire and encourage you to hike the canyon. So take that first step, embrace the journey, and hike your own hike, whether that's a walk on the rim trail, a quick hike below the rim, or maybe even a rim to rim. You can do it, and we are here to help. We'll see you next time on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, presented by Bright Angel Outfitters.